Now, Nigeria's Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has recently asserted that Nigeria is not a democratic nation. Appearing on Arise's Prime Time, Obi emphasized that the fundamental principles of democracy, government by the people, for the people, are absent in the current Nigerian political landscape. He further criticized the leadership, alleging that individuals with criminal records and forged credentials occupy significant governmental positions. Obi's remarks highlight ongoing concerns about Nigeria's democratic processes. The International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance reports that over the past 5 years, Nigeria has experienced declines in credible elections and effective governance. These insights underscore the challenges facing Nigeria's democratic institutions and the importance of addressing electoral integrity and governance issues to strengthen the nation's democracy. Joining us now to unpack Peter Obi's recent claims about the state of democracy in Nigeria is Dayo Sobowale. Good afternoon, Mr. Sobowale. Thank you for joining us. And so sorry for the challenges you had to face coming down here.
No, that's not for consumption.
Well, but let's talk about the comments by Peter Obi saying that Nigeria is not a democratic constitution. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what he has said is a generalization and it's a fallacy. You can say our democracy is sick. I go with that. There's no perfect democracy in the world. If you say that our electoral integrity is questionable because of rigged elections, I agree with him. But he's part of it too, because he has won elections. It's only when he has lost now that he's turning it into a sort of sour grapes. He's not the only person disgruntled with our democracy, but you have to live with it. Yesterday I was mentioning our father, Papa Olusegun Obasanjo, saying that he's frustrated and that our democracy is democracy of the few, by the few, over a large majority. So, see, everybody, there's nobody happy in the world, here I see it, even with democracy. And that is why you have those who will disintegrate the concept and ideology of democracy, waiting on the wings. That's China, one-party state, and the USSR. One is tempted to say that they are the people instigating this aggression, verbal, that is, against the concept of democracy. But see, democracy is a game of numbers. See, the majority wins, first past the post. That's a parliamentary democracy. In presidential democracy, the winner takes all. The winner takes all. So let's get the idea and concept of democracy right. That the principles, the ideal is there, but nobody is following it. But then, the one-party state scenario, the dictatorial democracies, they will tell you that their idea of democracy is the real democracy. Because at the end of the day, they control their people. There's no opposition, no aggression. They send them to school, and they put food on the table. So Obi can say whatever he likes. Most people will agree with him. But then, it was part of the last election. You see, people have said all over the world that the post-pandemic inflation all over the world made some governments to lose re-election. Okay, Trump just won. In Britain, the Conservatives lost. But some countries, people, the ruling party won the election in spite of the inflation. And the inflation, you can't separate the inflation from the ruling party in a democracy because you put them there. And if there's inflation and people cannot make ends meet, they will blame the people in charge. So what he's doing is criticizing the government of the day. But he cannot wash himself off it like Pontius Pilate because he has always been part of it. Let's leave it at that for now.
All right, Mr. Sobowale. Great assessment. Because you mentioned democracy is a game of numbers and we need to get our democracy right. You also said it would be all right if we said our democracy is sick. But when you mentioned the dictatorial aspect that some might be practicing, it made me wonder if you're willing to share what your own specific metrics to evaluate if Nigeria is truly practicing democracy might be.
Let me be abundantly clear.
Okay.
We are practicing democracy.
What are the metrics besides holding elections?
No, we have democratic institutions in place. We don't have one man who. We have presidential system of government, the system of checks and balances, separation of powers, and we vote every 4 years. Do you get me? So people are already getting ready for 2027. Those are the indices of democracy. Obitu is part and parcel of it. He can be disgruntled with it, and he has not very long because he lost the election. But Obasanjo is out of power, but he's always vigilant over the conduct of our democracy.
Okay, may I rephrase, Mr. Sobowale? Okay,
right.
You've outlined all these elements that you mentioned,
Yeah,
but you also stated
democracy.
that, yes, you also stated earlier that it's okay to say that democracy is relatively sick. So if we're going to practice democracy that is not sick, that is well, what would you include in the metrics of our ideal democracy for the Nigerian context?
That's right. Integrity, honesty, transparency, accountability. But you know, they're always lacking.
Yes.
That's the theory. I'm a practical pragmatist. That's what I'm telling you. That's why I said it is sick. I won't say you don't have democracy. All the indices right there. If you don't have democracy, we will be like our brothers in Niger, Mali. They are banned political parties. You can't discuss like this there. But Obi is venting his views in public against the government of the day, and he goes home to sleep. So let's thank God for little mercies. That is a democracy. But don't forget too, like people stretch human rights too far. You see, human rights is your freedom ends where my nose begins. And you see, the only true democracy is in utopia, not on this earth. Do you get me? So people are balancing things and making democracy work. You remember at the US last election, Joe Biden said his opponent is an enemy of democracy, a threat to democracy. But the threat to democracy won at the electoral dump or death.
All right.
Democracy is a matter of choice.
We thank you for your contribution
That's
this
right.
afternoon, Mr. Dayo Sobowale, Arise News analyst.